Let's go! Come on!
The weakness in Arsenal in terms of the squad. Well, the 11 players that they've got, fantastic. He's put together a real good side, Arteta, and you have to hold your hands up and go, they are looking good. But as the season's going to progress, as the games come thick and fast, all of a sudden, tiredness is going to set in, might pick up an injury here and there, and then you've got to play a different team, different players, different squad, and they struggle.
Does Jamie O'Hara have a point here about Arsenal? Are they running out of steam? Is there suddenly this big major weakness in them that has been discovered? I want your thoughts and I want your feelings. Let's go. Arsenal Football Club have had a tremendous start to their season. You cannot get away from it. I personally predicted they'd come third, and I changed that after the end of the window to second. That was predominantly based on Liverpool not doing as well or starting the season as well as I thought. And the signings and deals that everybody else did. So far this season, Arsenal have exceeded everybody's expectations. Just 2 defeats from across all competitions so far this year. Sensational start to the season. Sitting top of the league, ahead of Manchester City. Only beaten by Man United in the Premier League so far. And suddenly, they're going through a tough run of games. As in, performances are not quite there. Really outplayed by Leeds United in the second half of their game a few short weeks ago. A couple of weeks ago. They had the game against PSV last week. They win 1-0. The Emirates, it wasn't amazing, but they get through the game. They then draw at the weekend with Southampton. Southampton much better in the second half. And then, of course, lose to PSV last night and were comprehensively outplayed in the game. There's no doubt. But even in this sort of mini bad run, as you would call it, they've still won the majority of the games. They've only dropped a couple of points in the league, and they've just got to get a victory against Zurich, who have been the worst team in their group, to win it. So, Arsenal's world is not falling apart, but it's taken one defeat, not just for the media, but for even some Arsenal fans to start questioning whether or not Arsenal actually have some issues. You've already seen it coming through, and it's a little confusing to me. And by the way, make sure you're tuning in tonight, 6 p.m. live tonight on the Football Terrace for the Top 6 show. Brilliant panel. Make sure you are there. And the reason I bring this up is because, yes, they may have some weaknesses if the squad is depleted slightly through injury. But I don't understand still why. We're back to moving to November. We're, more than a quarter of a way through the season. That Arsenal are the only team that are being discussed in this light. Let's go back and take a look at what O'Hara said and break it down again. Let's just go take a little listen here.
The weakness in Arsenal in terms of
the weakness in Arsenal. It's very important to focus on that. The weakness in Arsenal.
Squad. Well, the 11 players that they've got, fantastic. He's put together a real good side, Arteta, and you have to hold your hands up and go, they are looking good. But as the season's going to progress, as the games come thick and fast, all of a sudden, tiredness is going to set in, might pick up an injury here and...
So this is the thing. Tiredness will set in. And a lot of people are saying Arsenal fatigued. Now, I've never really cemented my opinion on that. I think Arsenal right now are just going through poor form. Yes, O'Hara's right. They might pick up injuries, and that could be a problem. But Spurs have got their injuries right now. That's a problem for them. Most Chelsea fans will tell you if they lose a couple of their main first-team players, they're not happy with the overall strength in depth, especially in midfield. I'm a Man United fan, and I'm very much worried about Casemiro or Lisandro Martinez picking up an injury, Dalot picking up an injury. It would ruin us right now. We're losing sight of what the expectations on Arsenal were for the beginning of the season. And those expectations were to maybe, just maybe, be a top 4 team. Overarching football opinion was they could make the top 4. Could. Not everybody said they definitely would. No, barely anybody said they were a shoo-in. Now suddenly we're like, yeah, they're pretty weak, really. I don't think their squad's good enough to win the league. And I told you just over a week ago that would become the narrative. Them not winning the league now is going to try and spin this into a disappointment. And I'm going to be honest with you. They're just in poor form. They're going to beat Nottingham Forest this weekend. They will get the win against Zurich midweek. They then go away. I'm looking at the fixture. They then go away to Chelsea. That's tough, irrespective. Losing at Stamford Bridge, if that was to happen, is not, oh my God, the world is coming to an end. Then they play Brighton and Wolves before the World Cup break. And I believe they will win 3 of their next 4 league games. I believe they'll win 4 of their 5 next games in all competitions. And I'm annoyed at football fans for acting like this little blip is a precursor for everything that's going to come. And I go back to Liverpool season in the 2019-20 campaign, where they won the league for the first time in 30 years. In February, March, this was their run of form. They lost to Atletico. They scraped a 3-2 versus West Ham. A huge mistake in that game via Fabianski. Got battered by Watford. Beat comprehensively by Chelsea. Scraped to win against Bournemouth, who were relegated that year. And then were cruising against Atletico and collapsed. Now, I'm not suggesting for a single second that this Arsenal team is as good as that Liverpool side. Because I know some of you are writing that comment right now. So stop writing it. I can see you typing it. But if a team superior to this Arsenal side can have a run of form, and by the way, you're also throwing in just before that, they were knocked out of the FA Cup by Everton as well. If a team that nearly broke the Centurions record, the greatest points total in Liverpool Football Club's history, a team that had ideals of doing an invincible treble, a team that won the league at a canter, a team that broke record after record after record after record that year, one of the best single seasons for a title winner in the history of the Premier League. If they can have a run of form which sees them lose 4 of 6 games, and the 2 wins they scraped against a West Ham side back then that weren't very good and a relegation team in Bournemouth, why are Arsenal being dragged over the coals? A side not as good for drawing and losing a game, losing a relatively unimportant game, and for drawing against Southampton. Yes, I get everyone's point. They need a deeper squad. They know they need a deeper squad, but the target isn't to win the league. They will become title challengers this year. Whether it's enough to challenge for this year's title or be ready for next, that is what they're developing into. But the changing of the rhetoric is boring, and I knew it was going to come. And the reason that I'm addressing it is because partly that's my job, but equally I'm sitting there thinking to myself, the same guy a week ago, and people around him are like, actually, this Arsenal team are really quite good, aren't they?
1-0, by the way, in the Europa League against PSV. I'll tell you what, it would have been a good time to play Man City because Arsenal have been so good.
Don't know how to lose, do they?
They don't know how to lose. They've got an absolute winning mentality. How annoying is it?
So you see what he says there? It would have been a good time to have played City. Winning mentality. It's annoying. A week later, actually, big weaknesses, big problems. No. The problems Arsenal have got have always been there, and proper Arsenal fans have called this out all year. Not the TPFs, not the toxic positivity fans, the proper gooners. I've said all year, listen, we are punching above our weight. We are outperforming our wildest expectations for this season. We may even go on to challenge for this title, but we need reinforcements in January to do it. Irrespective, every Arsenal fan believes they're making top 4. And that was the goal at the beginning of this season. I don't like the moving of the goalposts 11, 12 games in. For me, that's wrong. If they get a 7, 8, 9, 10 point lead and throw it away, different conversation. But as things stand right now, it should become a little bit embarrassing. The narrative around Arsenal changing all the time. They're exceeding expectations. They've been the best team in the league this year. They're just having a little blip. They're just having a little blip where the results and performances haven't quite been at their best. Not quite at their best. But it was only a couple of weeks back that City drew with Copenhagen 0-0. Okay. You then had a situation where they got beat by Liverpool. They beat Brighton, but then they've gone and drawn with Borussia Dortmund. So you look at Man City right now. Man City, in their last 4 games, have drawn 2, lost 1, won 1. And their performances against Copenhagen, against Liverpool, and against Dortmund weren't great. Now, you could argue better opposition, X, Y, and Z, but they're City. They're outright favourites. A team most are calling the best in the world. They're not in great form right now. They probably bounced back at the weekend and smashed Leicester 4-5-0, right? But And I get they've got credit in the bank. There's more faith in them than there is Arsenal. But why are Arsenal the only team that are not allowed a little dip in form? It's crazy to me. It's crazy. Listen, I want your thoughts and I want your feelings. We'll see you at 6 for the Top 6 show. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless.